All right, you maggots, listen up. So one of the most deadliest things for me to do is to go up on eBay. And I always like to look at different parts. And I saw a picture of a 3-section tunable capacitor. And it's 365 picofarads per section. And when you're working and doing experiments, you can tie them together. You could use this for a crystal radio set. On and on and on. And what I thought was amazing was the box was still here, right? And I bought it, and I realized this box has been opened and closed dozens of times. What happens is if you have a store or you go to a ham flea market, there's people that have to open boxes up. They're mentally ill, and they'll make you crazy. They'll open stuff up, and they take the thing out, and then the brain switches to another scenario. And I saw this thing, and I didn't realize it actually came with the dimensions. Remember, I did a video, and this has all the dimensions for the unit, top and bottom. It's overkill, and you can tell this thing's like from 1952, something like that. I think there is a date somewhere on it. 1963. So this has been sitting in the box, 1963. Here's the original packing paper. And I want to show you, I buy these whenever I see them. Now, it was $25 plus $7 shipping. Now, let me show you one I paid $68 plus shipping. Here it is here. You can see wires are soldered to it. Let me get it into the frame. You can see wires have been soldered to it. This was on a tunable front end on one of my ammo can radios, my first ammo can radio. And if you look very carefully, you may see the difference between the two. They're both made in the United States. They both have the holes that are tapped. The holes that are in it are all tapped, so you can mount it very easily. You may notice something. All right, for $68, I got one that has almost no shaft on it. And what's the problem with this? Well, after you mount it, you can barely get any kind of knob on it. Now, this unit here, let's make sure you can see the shaft on it. This shaft, you can do many things with it. You can put a pointer on it and a knob. You can put a reduction dial on it. You can put it into a veneer dial. You can buy a $100 veneer dial, and you can't use this one. And that's what happened to me. I wanted a veneer dial with a log scale, and I have the veneer dials with 0 to 100 on them. And when I went to put this in the ammo can radio, what happened was I can only get a regular knob on it. And it's very tough to tune the front end of a radio when your RF amp, adjustable RF amp, has just a knob on it. You want some type of 6 to 1, something like that. And now I saw this, and I didn't even notice it had the longer shaft. What happened was, I just happened to see it, and I'm like, $25 plus shipping, that's really cheap. And then after I bought it, I went looking again, and I realized they're really coming down in price because the old screwballs like myself are dying off, and their children are dumping this stuff on eBay. Now, a lot of people, I tell you, they buy stuff, they put it in a drawer, it never gets used. They hoard it. They hoard parts. I have a certain amount of parts that I maintain, so I can basically get almost finished on a project before I have to order some more parts. I'm not one of those people that order all the parts first and then build it, or make believe I'm going to build it and put it all away. I start building with what I have. Also, if I know it's going to have some like standoffs that are going to be custom made, or a dial, or a bent piece of metal, I do the hard parts first. So as the parts come in, I just solder them in place and I'm done. That's how I get the projects done so fast, is I basically do the hard stuff first. Now, I know you've been watching me do that. Hellcrafters, what is that thing now? Is it a 42? SX42. It's completely finished except for the mechanical mechanism now. That's what I'll be on now. But they got it all the case back together, the side panels back on it, everything works on it. And in between, I'm always looking for parts. And I didn't even realize that I can build what I wanted to do originally. An RF amplifier that's got a veneer dial on it. And it all has to do with certain stations. When I find a station that's really interesting, even if it's in another state, I don't stream because I want to tell you, my internet is an AT&T box. I get 100 gigs a month for $66. Now, in my area, T-Mobile just came out with one that's unlimited, and it was 58. It's already jumped to 70. Well, anyway, it keeps going up in price. So I'm happy I didn't abandon ship from the AT&T. See, they get it's the old bait and switch. Let's put it that way. So I have 100 gigabytes. So if I start streaming stuff, I use up that 100 gigabytes, and then I get a surcharge for going over the 100 gigabytes, or a penalty charge, whatever you want to call it. So that's what. But I also like finding a station that I didn't know was in between the dial there and receiving it, and maybe later on building a standalone radio. I go back and look at my my ammo can radio, and that was for this one 80-meter hams at night. I used to use that to listen to them. And then I got tired of them because they're all my age, and they're all talking about going to the doctor and stuff. And that's the stuff I'm trying to get away from. I'm trying to get away from the bridge collapse and some poor schmuck up on the bridge patching potholes. Well, meanwhile, there's a guy down on a boat or a ship and he runs into the bridge and the bridge collapses. And that poor guy fixing the potholes gets killed. And that's the stuff I want to get away from. And I've also been looking for some kind of new hobby to add into the hobby. I'm starting getting tired of radio stuff. Let's say I'm tired of it because I'm spending too much time with it. That's what it is. It's my favorite hobby, but any hobby, if you spend too much time with it, you ruin it. And right now I did walk over to the dollar store around and back, but it's raining right now, so I can't do my long walk. But I have certain hobbies, and they're not all tied to the weather. But sometimes, you know, I like to shoot up to the Goodwill store, and that's 45 minutes each way walking, and buy a movie, get a DVD movie for the weekend for movie night. And that's another one of my hobbies, is watching different movies, box sets, stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you, you know, if you get into buying, watch out for the shaft length. Yeah, and don't cut the shaft. If you build a project, try to move the cap back and then put your knob on it. Don't cut this. You can cut it, it's brass, and it's made to be cut. But once you cut it, then you might want to use it for the next project, and what'll happen is it won't be long enough. I didn't even notice that. All I saw was it comes in the original box. Look how worn out this box is. And if you've ever done a flea market or had a store, there are people that have to come in and open boxes up. And that's why a lot of new boxes in stores are blister sealed. Because there's mental people. They'll open every single box. And I told you the story. I'll tell you real quick. I was at the electronic barn, and he had a big box. Well, he had 144 clock radios, or clocks. And they had a sunset on them. And he had one on a shelf. He had a big sign, please don't open the boxes. And people would just come in and they wouldn't see the demo units sitting there on the shelf. They wouldn't read the sign, and they start opening the boxes. And I looked at the clock, and it was just a plain digital clock, a cube, and it had a switch, and you threw it on, and it lit up a scene of a sunset. So I walk in, and he's melting down. His name was Bob, and he's melting down. I go, what's the matter? He goes, they don't look at the demo unit. They don't read the sign. He goes, how much money do you have on you? Because he knew I had money. And I'm like, why? He goes, here. And he picks the box up, and it's got 144 clocks in it. And he goes, here, take it to the car. Give me some money. What do you got? So I give him $50. Now I put it in the trunk of the car. I take them home. I take all the clocks out of the box, and one by one, I wrap the line cord up. I make sure it can fit back in the box. There was in a little plastic bag. Every one of them had a little plastic bag, instruction booklet. I test the clock, put it in the box, and seal it, and put it back in the big cardboard box. So I went through them all, and I'm going to take them to a flea market and sell them. Well, one day I come home from work, and my mother's giving them away to people. And yeah, that's the stuff my mother would used to do to me. I won't go into the light bulb fiasco, but now we have the clock fiasco. And well, the light bulb fiasco was someone owed me money, and they paid me in grosses of light bulbs. My mother gave them away, and people started calling me up asking for different wattage bulbs, thinking I was going to give them those wattage bulbs for free. And my mother used to set me up for some stuff. I'll let you draw your own conclusion. Well, anyway, she gives these clocks away, and then they're gone. I got them for $50, so I bought a bunch of people digital clocks. So I let that go. Try to get it out of my head. I started getting calls from people. The light went out in the clock. I'm going, yeah. Well, I need you to put a new light bulb in the clock. All right, so I put a new light bulb in the clock. They take it back. I see lines from the light bulb inside on the display. See, what happened was they had a light bulb in it that had no seam on the globe of the light bulb. And it would protect, the picture would light up in the clock without any artifacts. So I bought cheaper light bulbs, which were maybe Korean light bulbs or whatever, at the hardware store. I put them in, gave it back to them, and you could see the seam on the light bulb was projecting into the seam. So I had to take those clocks back and then find a hardware store with new old stock light bulbs and put them in there. And my father finally spoke up, but not in front of my mother. He goes, you know, I think it's really unfair that your mother gave away your clocks and now you have to fix them. I'm like, yeah, like I was going to get involved in that because my father wouldn't say anything in front of my mother. So yeah, because they were his relatives and stuff. See, they're all dead now. I have that to say to myself, well, at least they're all dead. They can't harm me anymore, hopefully. But just wanted to show you, you know, I do look at stuff, and I know some people, eye candy. Oh, I wanted to tell you if you made it this far, this needs to be re-lubricated. The lubrication on the ball bearings, the liquid in the grease has migrated out, and the grease is now dried out. That's one of the things I forgot to tell you in the beginning of the video. All my videos go off into rants because as I'm talking about certain things, you know, like people that open boxes, it triggers a story. It triggers a story. And I'd be at the flea market, and I had these ballums. They're antenna ballums. And this guy was selling them out of the back of a magazine. And I bought 2 of them. And what it does is it takes, you can take 2 long wires, a dipole for shortwave, and it goes into the ballum, and it gets converted down to 50 ohms. So you could make a beverage antenna with it. Look up ballum coils. Well, anyway, I had them at the flea market. I bought a few of them, and I had one open on top of the box. And a person comes by and I said, look, it's on top of the box, but they insist on opening the box up. Okay? So there's people that are mentally ill to open boxes. They're not going to buy anything. And I used to see that when I was a kid one time. There was a Christmas display, and the guy was standing there. They had packages like Christmas gifts around a Christmas tree, and there was a guy standing there, and he looked normal, but he started opening every box up like it was Christmas morning. And I looked over, and finally some woman came over. She got him too late. He went through them all. Each box was empty, but he couldn't help himself. There was something wrong with him. And there are people, now that I mentioned this to you, you're going to go, you know, I kind of remember that. That's the stuff, you know, like I told you, that game, Unreal, where you got those people walking around that are like background static. They're really out there. They're real people. They eat, they poop, but they're like on a little program, and they run in the background. And some of them like to open boxes up. And that's all I got to say about that. I think that's all right. All right, that's it.